타우스 마 잘 살지 그랬어 임마. 에이 자식 왜 그래가지고 이게 일단 마지막 버튼인 것 같은데요. 이제 모든 영혼을 되돌리고 활로본의 그 저주라고 해야 되나? 저주긴 저주죠. 그거를 이제 해방시키는. 그러기 전에 각 동료들의 한마디씩을 들어보죠.
Never thought I'd see something like this in my travels. Lends a little perspective, doesn't it?
나도 그렇게 생각해. 이 마지막에 말에 의해서 마지막 얘네들의 엔딩, 그러니까 동료들 엔딩이 틀려질 거야 아마. 이제 이걸 처리할 시간에 일단 함께 여행해줘서 고맙습니다.
The end of the road greets us at last.
마침내 길 끝이 우리를 반기는군.
Better than any watcher has right to.
어떤 주시자보다 주시자가 나쁜이 없었던 건 아닌 것 같아요.
Would that my own trial had produced such an outcome.
근데 나는 좀 특이한 경우 아니겠나? 주시자면서 각성한 사람 아니야?
And I the darkness. A lesson neither of Durance nor of Margaret. But
Victory looks good on you. There was a blur about your soul that lingers no more. Seems putting Theos to rest has given you some measure of inner peace. Of course, now you need to decide what to do with these trapped souls.
파산 절차 받은 후.
You've won the right, if you wish, to use these souls as fodder to strengthen the living. Think of the Hollowborn. Think of the victims of animancy gone awry. It would be a great boon to so many. Consider, my watcher friend, but that is merely my two pawns on this matter. This is your hunt, your victory, your prize. When I lost my way, you helped steer me back to Gallowayne. I sincerely believe the Seeker God has returned the favor by guiding you to this moment. It has been an honor to be a part of your pack.
내 힘으로도 아로이카님 어서 오세요. 바꿀 수 있나 보네요.
We've come to the end of it, my friend. It has been an honor to walk this road with
각
you.
동료들의 그 소담을 다 듣고 싶다. 사실 동료들 그 퀘스트 다 깨가지고 내 본거지에다 다 넣어놨는데 이제 뭐 2회차 할 때부터는 다 모든 동료들을 다 데리고 다닐 필요는 없죠. 이제 다 해봤으니까 어떤 스토리인지도 알고. 에디어가 뭐라고 말할까?
He had hold of your soul from a long time back, seems like. You get what you needed from him?
어떻게 보면 얘가 가장 먼저 만나는 애일 수도 있었는데 내가 뭐 울렁불렁 해가지고 네 번째로 만났죠.
Those can be hard to come by, but maybe that's best. Forces you to find your own footing.
그러면서도 얘가 없었다면 아마 정말 게임을 깨지 못할 때도 되게 많았지. 끝까지 혼자 홀로 남아.
You'll be feeling better soon then. Good. That's real good. You got it figured out what you're going to do about all that?
그렇죠.
Got a lot of people out there thinking they've been abandoned by their gods. There's not much that'll put the fear in you more than that.
목소리 들으면 들을수록
Take
좋네.
my word for it. If it was in my power, and I know it's not, but if it was, I'd find a way to give them the courage to face it. Not because they think there's some god looking out for them, but because they've just got it in them. After what you've been through, though, I'm sure you got your own ideas.
에디어가 가장 동료 중에 마음에 드는 애 같아 나는. 성격도 그렇고. 당신은 증인 같은 동료들과 함께 과거의 타우스가 추종자들과 썼던 곳에 올라섰다. 당신 앞에 있는 장치를 가동될 준비가 되어 있었다. 영혼의 방향을 바꾸는 장치다. 자, 장치를 가동한 명령을 말한다. 본래의 몸으로 되돌려보낸 뭘 어떻게 하지? 본래의 몸으로 되돌려가면 굉장히 이상한 현상이 많이 일어날 것 같은데. 왜냐면은 지금 할로본인 애들은 거의 다 죽었거든요. 그러니까 안 죽은 애도 있을 것 같긴 한데. 자 봐, 윤회 순간으로 돌려보내면 어차피 이렇게 예, 지금 여기 안에 있는 영혼들을 다시 그 순환으로 보낸다는 거죠. 예, 본래의 몸으로 보내는 거는 본래 몸으로 가도 죽은 애가 있으면 다시 예, 순회로 다시 돌아간다는 거예요. 어차피 살아있들은 사는 거죠 대신. 근데 여기서 문제는 할로윈이 돼서 짐승의 동물, 짐승의 영혼을 가지고 이렇게 한 애들 있죠. 할로본이면서 걔네들한테는 영혼이 두 개 겹쳐진다는 거지. 좀 특이한 현상이 일어날 수도 있는 거죠. 가장 무난한 거는 1번이겠지만 예, 새로운 기쁨을 주면 좀 위험하겠지만 사람들에게 기쁨을 줄 수 있는 2번. 엔트로피를 분해한 사람, 뭔 일이 있는지도 몰라. 3번. 4번. 예, 그냥 우리끼리만 잘 먹고 잘 살자. 4번. 우리 고통 받았으니까 고통 받은 만큼 보상을 받아야 돼, 이런 식이죠. 우리 지역, 디오드 지역이 이제 할로본으로 고통을 받았으니까 우리들이 고통 받은 만큼 보상을 받아야 된다라는 심리죠. 하지만 나는 2번으로 하겠습니다. 2번이 가장 마음에 드네요. 본래의 몸으로 다시 되돌려 보낸다.
At your command, the ancient device became your instrument, spinning to life with deafening resonance.
고대 장치는 지시에 따라 귀가 먹먹할 정도로 급격히 회전을 했고 거대한 물레배에 걸쳐 실처럼 조용돌이치던 영혼들을 빨아들였다. 당신은 오래전 당신을 이기로 끌어들였던 장치의 창백하게 깜빡이는 빛 속에 온 힘을 끌어모아 목표를 집중했고 그 밖의 모든 것을 차단했다. 충격적인 돌풍이 일어나 방을 뒤흔들자 당신은 바닥에 굴렀고 정지한 상태였던 영혼들은 당신은 지친 채 의식을 잃어갔고 마침내 빛을 잃은 채 정지한 장치를 보았다. 그리고 눈을 감은 후 오랜만에 잠이 들었다. 정신이 들어 얼마 동안 수색한 결과 타우스가 그늘진 태양으로 들어왔던 저 길을 찾을 수 있었고 지상을 향해 길고 험한 길을 오르기 시작했다. 타우스가 남긴 자네를 며칠 동안 헤쳐나온 뒤 당신은 데이를 에브론 햇빛 속에 걸음을 내디뎠을 때는 다이오드는 당신을 떠날 때와는 많은 부분이 변해 있었다. 엔딩이죠. 엔딩이야.
At your direction, the souls diverted by Theos were guided back to the vessels originally meant for them. For the first time, parents of hollow-born children woke to the cries of their infants and looked into their eyes to see them staring back. People fell to their knees where they stood, thanking Helia or Mogren or even Aethys for their forgiveness of whatever guilt they felt they bore. But for all the relief that had come to some parents, others only found new grief. For many thousands of Hollowborn had died during Wide One's legacy, many by their parents' own hands. For those children, there would be no homecoming. Yet the last Hollow birth was in the past now, and those parents willing to risk trying for a new child were frequently rewarded, often with twins. Many felt they saw Helia's hand in it, and the year would be remembered as the year of Helia's splendor. Though you had killed Lord Radric in his throne room, so strong was his drive to
이제
rid his
내가
land
했던
of the
일들에 대한
invasions
엔딩이네요.
that he returned to life as a death guard,
이런 게 나와야지. 이런 게 나와야
deathless
재밌지.
crusader for his brutal cause. With the remains of his humanity stripped away, Radric came to see all the people of Gilded Vale as worshippers of Aethys, and one day he led his forces into the village personally to see them all purged from his lands. Gilded Vale was left a hollow shell, its buildings ruined, and its people slaughtered. Even travelers and would-be squatters knew better than to take refuge inside its borders. Lord Radric returned to Radric's Hold, where he remained, keeping eternal watch over his barren domain. Following the assassinations of Duke Avar Wulfgren and Lady Webb, Defiance Bay was thrown into political upheaval. In the ensuing weeks, the streets had become the domain of looters and blackguards. Few dared to step outside their own doors alone or unarmed. But once the dozens had regrouped in the wake of the riots, they quickly put an end to the criminal activity. They patrolled the streets in droves and administered their brand of law on any perceived offenders. This was not the erratic justice of the mob, however. The dozens had taken to heart the strengths of their adversaries, the Knights of the Crucible, and emerged as a far more organized, disciplined force. With the waning strength of the other Defiance Bay powers, the leadership of the dozens took the opportunity to establish its own group as the dominant peacekeeping force in the city. The dozens would soon find themselves overwhelmed by the problems of a leaderless metropolis. But they found an uneasy new partner in the surviving forces of the Crucible Knights, who understood the city's infrastructure and were able to keep the worst of its problems under
초코봉님 어서
control.
오세요.
Though the machine atop Ter Noaneth had been drained of its accumulated essence, the machine had not seen its last use. Heritage Hill was rebuilt, and no sooner had the first families moved in to resettle the district than members of the Leaden Key, acting under standing orders from their Grand Master, climbed the tower and reactivated the machine. The initiates slew a
이거 저거
handful of the
부셔버리면
new settlers
되잖아.
under cover of night and watched as history repeated itself, the victims reanimating and devouring the survivors. After this second incident, the
부셔버리면
district
되잖아.
would remain abandoned. The Duke's assassination at the apparent hands of an animancer had caused catastrophic rioting in the streets of Defiance Bay. But those who had escaped the melee in the palace hearings remembered the testimonies of the strange guest who had shown up that day and absolved animancy, implicating the Leaden Key instead. The rumor spread quickly, and soon the popular belief was that the assassin had been a Leaden Key spy. When the legacy had lifted, people came
그랬구나.
to see it not as a sign that the riots had been according to the gods' wishes, as Theos had hoped, but as a confirmation that animancy had never been the source of the problem in the first place. Deerwoodans instead convinced themselves that the riots had somehow purged Defiance Bay of Leaden Key spies,
그나마 다행이네요.
and that the
시몬스타들은.
end of Wydwin's legacy was their well-deserved reward.
어우,
The
다행이네.
rage against
그럼
animancers
그
was
영화는
quickly
안에 있던 그
forgotten,
동상은 어떻게
and
되는
those who
거야?
had survived
동상은
were
이미
permitted to
죽었나?
return to Brackenbury Sanitarium and rebuild it so they might resume their studies. The town of Deerford had seen the last of the cult of Scan. Dark rumors about the town's many curses quickly faded, and travelers soon returned. The fortress of Cadnua emerged as a bastion of security in the midst of an untamed land, becoming the envy of every thane and earl in Deerwood. Legend grew over time of its impregnability, and stories of formidable invaders easily scattered by the keep's defenses became popular around the hearths of Deerwoodinians. Likewise, it also became a beacon to travelers, merchants, and visiting dignitaries alike.
내가 참
Reputed as
잘했어.
the finest fortress in all Deerwood, people would journey from near and distant lands alike to experience its fabled hospitality and grandeur. After the death of the master below, a strange quiet fell over the endless paths of Ardnua. The attacks on the fortress above ceased, Ardnua's silent titan the closest remaining thing to a master in its musty, forgotten passages. Palagina had gone against the Duke's spell's
드디어
orders by
동료들.
inventing a new trade arrangement with the Anamenfath to accommodate the recovering Deerwooden market. With the Deerwood's people still weakened by Wydman's legacy, the Valian Republic
추방당했다고?
easily pushed their would-be competitors out of the market. For her outrageous insubordination and audacity, Palagina was banished from the republics. She traveled north in the eastern reach, avoiding Valian ports and entering the ranks of the kind wayfarers.
생긴 게
Despite her bravery
얘가
and
그거잖아.
dedication to those in her care,
신격체인가라고 하나?
her strange appearance made her feel like an outsider.
반신
wherever she
반인이라고 해야
went.
되나?
With your business concluded, Haravius quietly took his leave and headed
안
home
좋게
to
끝나네요.
Thane Bog. The elders of the Fisher Crane had not
난
warned
저기 되게
Haravius in his
잘
absence,
된 건
and
줄
when he arrived,
알았는데.
he was denounced and scorned. Haravius spoke of his deeds and of his communion with Galawain, yet none would support his petition to return to the tribe. One by one, starting with the oldest, Haravius challenged each member of the council to single combat, humiliating the
와.
Rhea in a series of savage duels.
완전 힘으로
Half the
밀어붙였네
council
얘는.
bloodied and shamed, the elders at last acknowledged Haravius' strength, announcing him a
힘으로
hunter of
밀어붙였군요.
the Fisher Crane tribe. Upon being granted this title, Haravius calmly left the village and embarked again on his life of wandering. Adair chose not to return home to
어디요다.
Vale. Still most comfortable far from cities, he settled in Deerford, which, like many towns in the Deerwood,
디어포드에
was beginning the
정착했구나.
slow process of rebuilding. Believing now that it was the obligation of Kith to be the leaders their gods had
시장으로
not,
지명.
Adair was soon named mayor of the town, and under his guidance, Deerford soon began to prosper. He expelled the last of the Scanites from the area and drew new settlers with the
누구한테
offer of
배운 거지?
land,
아,
a trick he had learned from someone he otherwise preferred to forget. With each passing day, Deerford would come to more closely resemble the
누구한테
gilded veil
배운
of
책이지?
Adair's childhood, the one worthy of its name. When the dust settled in sun and shadow, Aloth looked upon the remains of Theos Ix Arcanon, his former master. He saw where the Grandmaster had gone wrong, and he knew what he would do better. The secret of the gods would be preserved, and with it, the sanity and
주인이라고?
well-being of all Kith.
얘
He
타워스
donned the remains
부하였어?
of Theos' ceremonial garb and prepared himself for the long and lonely task ahead. With the Watcher's goals accomplished and his own vows fulfilled,
쟤
Tanarua
타워스 부하였나
sailed
보네?
back to Dakoa. His friends and family found him much changed, for a pall had fallen upon the man, smothering his former enthusiasm. Called before the Lore College, Kana told them of the pain the Engwithan legacy brought to the lands abroad. He insisted that a search
걔
for answers
각성체
abroad could only
퀘스트는
fragment the
했는데.
Rawatai people, as it had done to the Deerwood. His findings were met with much respect, and Kanarua's voice came to be considered an influential one in the growing move
그게
towards
독립기 아니었나? 또
Rawatai's
있나? 그거
isolation.
말고?
With Theos defeated and the souls released from sun and shadow, healthy children were born once again in the Deerwood. The grieving mother sought a place where she might do penance for the birthing bell. She returned to Deerford, where, to the astonishment of the villagers, she delivered the first healthy child in over a decade.
아, 얘도
She
디어포드에
remained there,
아,
and
뭐야?
with each new birth,
얘
she saw a
디어포드에
measure of hope
정착했나 본데?
restored to the Deerwood, and a measure of
에디어랑
grace for her
쿵짝쿵짝 잘
own troubled
맞았겠네.
past. Durrance used Mogren's strength only until Theos had been cast from the world, and then swore off her influence entirely. Regret came to weigh heavily on his mind, and a man who had never previously lacked for words or opinions came to embrace silence and contemplation. He continued to wander, penniless and destitute, searching now not for the reason for his goddess's silence, but for a mechanism for revenge. The charred robes he continued to wear
뭐
as a
그건 그렇긴
reminder
하지만
that he had been burned
걔
by his
특적 뭐야
goddess,
특이 능력이라
and
그거.
not just by the flames of the Godhammer. In her 4-month journey back to Nositoc,
싸가니다.
Sagani found that the landscape she traveled had become strangely colorless, the food bland and unsatisfying. She
왜?
watched the Deerwood, Air Glonfoth, the Valian Republics, and the lands beyond slide by with a dull sense of dread.
아, 그 걔
She
때문에
returned home to great celebration,
이름 뭐였더라?
yet the words of joy and congratulations rang hollow to her. Old beloved songs sounded toneless. The rituals of changing seasons became drudgery, and Sagani experienced her life back in Masuk as if in someone else's skin. So she fought to feel the worth of her actions, or at least to let her village feel them. She led ever longer and more ambitious hunts, mentoring the younger rangers who followed her.
혼자서
On one
무모하게
such
앞으로 나갔나
expedition,
보군요.
her party
거의
was
자살
beset by a
비슷하게
blizzard,
죽은 거 아니야?
and she pressed on where her companions turned back. She
그래도
did not
조금
return to Masuk.
동료들 마지막이
For you,
좀
the death of Theos brought an end to your waking visions
좋은 애는
and a silence to the whispers of the
확 좋다
past.
뭐 이런 애들은
In
그
their
에데오밖에
absence,
없는데?
You were able to sleep.
에데오하고
The
슬퍼하는 어머니 정도?
questions of a distant lifetime ceased to trouble your soul. All that remained was what to make of the answer. But at the moment, there was little to be done, and the matter would have to wait. A long journey loomed ahead,
아 내가
made
잘못했나
no easier
보네.
by your decision to bring an infant to Sun and Shadow.
이렇게 해서 예 필라스 오브 이터니티 엔딩을 보게 됐습니다. 거의 2주간에 걸친 주말에만 달리는 2주간에 걸친 여정이었는데요. 예, 하나의 정말 잘 만든 소설책을 본 듯한 느낌의 게임이네요. 자, 필라스 오브 이터니티 재밌게 보셨는지 모르겠어요. 이 게임은 예 2회차는 당연히 할 겁니다. 당연히 할 거고요. 예 2회차는 뭐 이런 게임은 한 번 하고 끝내지는 않습니다. 대부분 나는 그렇기 때문에 아마 2회차 할 거예요. 자, 필라스 오브 이터니티였습니다. 재밌게 보셨는지 모르겠어요. 다음에 다른 게임을 들고 오도록 하죠. 안녕.